But let's go to the NBA where, of course, the NBA Finals finally here takes place and begins tomorrow in the bubble, of course, the LA Lakers against the Miami Heat. And there's been a lot of talk about should there be an asterisk on this championship, whoever wins it. And Rob and I both agree, no, it's ridiculous. You don't just throw out asterisks. I think asterisks are for when one team or player had an unfair advantage over the rest of the guys he was competing with. And in the bubble, everybody's going about, the same business. They all got to stay in the bubble. They all were away from their family for the same amount of time. They all have had to deal with everything going on down there. So I don't think there's an asterisk, but some have gone to the opposite extreme and said there should be, a mental asterisk because this is actually tougher than any other championship that you would have to win in the NBA history. And none other than LeBron James kind of gave credence to that thought today or yesterday with his recent comments about how tough it's been to be in the bubble and how tough it will be to go ahead and complete this thing with a title.
Probably been the most challenging thing I've ever done as far as a professional, as far as committing to something and actually, making it through. I knew what I was what we were coming here for. Obviously, you didn't. I would be lying if I sat up here and knew that everything inside the bubble would what it would, the toll that it would take on your mind and your body and and everything else. Because it's been extremely tough. But I'm here for one reason and one reason only, and that's to compete for a championship. And that was my mindset. Once I entered the bubble, once I entered the quarantine process, the first 2 days, and then right from my first practice, my mindset was to, if I'm gonna be here, make the most of it and see what you can do and lock in on what the main thing is. And the main thing was for us to finish the season and compete for a championship. So that's just been my mindset, throughout these, I don't even know how many days it is. How many days it is, it feels like 5 years. So it really doesn't matter. But I've been as locked in as I've ever been in my career.
I think that's good, honest talk from LeBron James. Look, Giannis Antetokounmpo talked about, he was the first one to say, yeah, I think it deserves an asterisk because it's going to be the hardest NBA title ever. I paraphrased a little bit, but that was his sentiment. Paul George of the Clippers, he talked about how the bubble had him depressed and he really was out of sorts and it showed in his game. So I think it's real. I mean, we know the Clippers really didn't even want to be in the bubble. And so I do think what LeBron said was just good, honest talk. And that's my take on it, Rob. It doesn't mean, I'm not going to say this title is any more special or better or more, was tougher to win than any other title. But I'm certainly not going to belittle it as well. What are your thoughts?
I'm not buying into the narrative because basically it just sets up a scenario that if he wins, try to give him extra credit for winning in the bubble. And if he loses, he can say, I told you it was real tough. And so there's no either way he's covered. I think when you say that's the toughest, sometimes going on the road and having to win a road game in a hostile environment, Chris, and travel and all kinds of other things, I think there are other situations are tougher.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I
fair.
mean?
Yeah.
Like to go to Oakland and beat them in a game 6 or whatever it was, to force another game, to come back from 3-1 and win a game 7 in Oakland. You can't tell me that's not tougher with the crowd and the pressure and being the road team and the home team has an advantage. And here it's kind of a sterile environment. And I'm not poo-pooing the mental part of it about being in the bubble and having to deal with something that no one had to deal with to this point. But I know how these things are, and it's a narrative, and it's both ways. It's just like, and Chris, fair or not, when he got hurt, do you remember he hurt his wrist or whatever and they lost and got swept in the finals?
51. Yeah.
And then but he came in with the bandage or whatever on his wrist. You remember, like right after the game.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't put on that thing, Chris, but maybe that's not the time to put it on. And what would have been the difference if you went in, talked to the media for 10 minutes, right, and then come out and put it on and go on about your way? So LeBron has done this in the past to me, just to set up a little something. And I'm not saying it takes away from his ability or what he's accomplished, but this is what he does.
But you think he's protecting himself? Wow.
I do. I think that it's easy to put that out there just because.
He has been saying this from day one. Now, that doesn't mean you're not, it doesn't take away from what you said, but he's been talking since day one about how hard the bubble is.
I'm not saying that it's not. I think that there are other circumstances that are tougher as far as playing sports, going on the road, winning big road games in hostile environments. That's even, Chris, that to me, when you talk about sports and winning those type of games, man, you know that some guys wilt going on the road in a hostile environment. I mean, great players wilt, and they can't get it done.
I would agree with you. Now, again, neither one of us knows what it's like to be in a bubble like that. But I just think it's different for different players. I think there are some players that would prefer. I think there are guys that are preferring the bubble, Rob. Like, they don't have to deal with, fans yelling at them, fans who, don't like them, and the pressure of being on the road, and, just the travel and all of that. Obviously, you miss certain other things, but I do think there's guys that kind of thrive in this environment. And then I think there are those guys, I think LeBron's one of them, that really kind of likes the crowd, feeds off the crowd. We've seen him obviously struggled in 2011 in Dallas, but for the most part, he feeds off the crowd, it seems like. He's always strutting, yelling stuff into the crowd, looking into the crowd. So I just think it's different for each player. And I'll say this, too, about what you said, that he's covered. Look, lose this series, Rob. There's no cover for that.
No, I'm not talking.
He will get, don't you? Won't he get crushed?
Yeah, he will.
And the Lakers will get crushed? Yeah.
But he can make the case that what he had to go through in the bubble, how tough. All I'm saying is, it's like it kind of like gives you. It was the same thing to me, Chris, and maybe you saw it differently. When he came in after they got swept with the thing on his wrist, what did you think right away? What was your first when you saw that?
Well, honestly, I don't really remember what my exact thoughts were, but I tend to agree with you. Like, again, he obviously had the broken wrist or whatever, and so the doctors may have said, look, the series is over, put this on. But you're right. You could have waited 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It was a bad look because it just looked like he was making an excuse, and so I get where you're coming from on that. So yeah, I see that, it's over. I can throw this on now. But like you said, you could have waited because it looked, whether he meant it that way or not, it looked like you were putting an excuse out there.
Right. That's all I'm saying. And you don't have to do that. You're better than that. You got swept. You could just say, man, they beat us. They were the better team, blah, 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 and kind of leave it at that. You know what I mean? And then take care of whatever.
Especially when you get swept. Because when you get swept and beat like that, nobody's saying, oh, wow, if LeBron hadn't had that broken wrist or that fractured wrist, whatever, they would have won. No, I mean, come on. So
I just thought that was an opportunity not to, like, give yourself a little crutch so people could say, what do you expect? He hurt his wrist in game 3. They weren't going to win no games. Right. You know what I mean?
Or he did all that. He obviously played well. He did all that with the injured. Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think in some ways that's human nature in that. Remember, like, I don't remember if it was the first. I think it was. I don't remember which series it was. Obviously, they played so many against the Warriors. But remember when they were down and losing, and he said something about because I'm the best player in the world. Remember that in the press conference? Yeah. They were down, and he said something like, he made reference to being the best player in the world, which he was. And I don't even fault him for that because I think that's a defense mechanism. You're getting beat. You've been beat by them before. You're about to lose another finals. And like, it's human nature. Yo, don't forget, all right, we're not the best team, but don't get it twisted. I'm still the best player in the world.
You know what that's like, too? You remember when after they lost to Dallas, and he basically threw it in the face of fans. Remember that? He said, y'all got to go back to your normal lives. I'm still going to be. You remember that whole.
Right, which I also think that's a, you
remember
there
that,
have been
Chris?
times when yeah. And there have been times when I felt that. Like, you getting ripped or whatever. You like, y'all got, I'm good, and I just think that, like you said, it didn't come off well. But what I'm saying is those are natural defense mechanisms that people have. People have different defense mechanisms. But that was one. And a lot of people, if they were ripped to shreds by millions, would say something like that. Maybe not that exact thing, but, you're going to defend yourself. Yeah. You know how it is. You and I have probably both done it on Twitter. Like
that was
it
just
is what it is.
It was just right. It was like, wow, okay, you go back to your little lives. No matter what, all right, I lost to Dallas, but no matter what, you have to go back, right, and you got to go back to your pitiful lives.
Right. No, right. But I don't know. I mean, I think that the bubble, we can only imagine what it's like. We hear what the players are saying. Do you think there's any? Like, is there any part of you saying that the Heat are going to pull this off?
Yes.
About how much percentage? Because you're picking – who would you pick? I don't think you made your pick.
We haven't made our pick. We'll do it at the end of the show. But I think I've swung the other way. I think I'm
to the
making
Heat?
A different pick. I think so.
Wow. Hot take galore. This is what you do. You just want to cause a ruckus.
No, I don't.
And in the little 0.002% chance that the Heat do win, you'll be like on top of the world.
No,
you won't be as kind as I was in the first segment. You'll be far more arrarrogant.
No, I won't.
And
I won't.
Gosh, you'll be unbearable.
I've been saying the Lakers all the way up until this point. And until we'll make the pick later. But I think I've been looking at it, and I think just for one reason only, and you know what the reason is, but we'll talk about it later.
Do you think LeBron's just throwing out a narrative to cover himself either way? Win, and it's greater than a normal title.
Win, it's extra credit. Right. If
right.
he wins, he gets extra credit.
I don't think so. Rob does. What say you?
And we should say, don't forget, coming up in the final hour, it is a Trash Talking Tuesday, so we'll give you a chance to trash anyone or anything in the world of sports. And a quick update.
You haven't been saying it with your usual vigor.
Yeah, we just been in the middle of everything. I did want to say one other thing, though. It is 5-1 Yankees. Can you believe that? Against the best pitcher in the league.
I picked Cleveland.
Well, they got the best pitching, Chris.
Yep.
Just about, right?
Bieber going. He's going to be the Cy Young, and he's
going to be unanimous Cy Young.
Have been in, right. And they have been struggling. All right, here's the vegans got something to say.
Oh, yeah, CB. So the track we played, that's one of the homies, Jay Diener. He's like an upcoming artist. I know he does like hip-hop, rap, and all that, so I wanted to play for you and see what you thought because he's
I like that.
Yeah, it's a good vibe, right?
Groove. Yeah,
man. He's got some good stuff. We're trying to help him pub himself, so I figured why not better than the hip-hop head, CB, who used to be a Yum MC in his day, so you know.
Nice.
I like that.
All right, look, are we ready?
We're brought to you by AutoZone. AutoZone's got more ways for you to get what you need when you need it. They got their free same-day pickup. You can place your order online and grab what you need that same day at more than 5,700 AutoZone locations, in-store or curbside. Visit AutoZone.com today to start your job fast. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
All right, 877-99 on Fox. Let's start with Steve in Maine. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Steve?
Hey, guys. Hey, listen, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm sitting here, I never call into the shows or whatever, but it's just disgusting hearing LeBron James talk about how difficult it is, mentally stressful and perhaps not physically being down there in the bubble. And I just feel like he is so many others down there and in the bubble and in professional sports are just so tone deaf right now with what's going on in the world. And we've got people that have lost their homes because of fires, because of natural disasters like the hurricanes, because of looting. You want to talk about mental toughness. What about, those that are trying to protest just causes in the world today, but that's being completely overshadowed by riots and anarchists, and
Right.
it just really is frustrating to hear about this guy, and it's all about him and what he can do and all this and that. I agree, he's already making excuses, and to see him sit down there on the floor after he's won the Western Conference final and just pout like a baby, man, it's just so tone deaf. He puts this aura out that he's for the people and he's for the movements and he's for, supporting, just causes and all that. And he is just so.
Let me ask you this: does the fact that he said that it is, the worst thing he's been, the toughest challenge he's had professionally? Now, he did keep it in the context of basketball. He wasn't saying it's the toughest thing I've ever been through, period, because obviously he's been through some tough things himself. But you know what I mean? Does that soften it for you, or you just upset about it? You don't like it?
To a certain extent, yeah. Like, I get that. I mean, I just think, those examples I just put out, I think about these young men and women in the military on a ship in the middle of nowhere in a desert somewhere who are getting paid, $40,000 a year to put their life on the line for you and me to be able to talk like this and to give him the ability, to play basketball. I mean, it's just
Steve,
so talk about professional
Steve,
hardships, man.
Steve, we got it. We got it. I got it. I mean, it's all relative, Chris. It's all relative, and I know LeBron.
I didn't take
thinking
it like
about
that.
I didn't either, but I could see how somebody could say, like, really, what's so tough?
Right.
You know what I mean? When you look
still
at
in
it,
a 4-star hotel,
exactly,
as opposed to a 5-star,
and nobody's bothering you, and
Right.
you're protected, and you don't have to worry about your health, and all you got to do is play basketball every other night or whatever it is. I get it. Rob in South Carolina, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Rob?
Hey, what's up, fellas? How y'all doing? Hey, Steve sounds like he needs a session on the couch, man. Damn. Hey, look here.
Yeah.
We talking about basketball. He went into the whole world issue. But anyway, I would have to agree with LeBron, man. I mean, I wouldn't agree with him if I had not heard the rest of the other players pretty much all be on that same line. This is tough down here. Everybody says it's tough. All of them are saying it's tough. If it was just LeBron saying it, yeah. But making excuses, Rob, they won both series 4-1. I don't really think he has anything to make excuses for.
No, it's still about winning the championship, because none of that matters if he doesn't win the championship. Like, it, and LeBron knows it. Am I right?
Right.
LeBron even said it.
But
LeBron knows it.
I'm of the belief that they're going to win the championship. I'm just saying.
No, but that's not. But you don't. But you don't know that as a fact. That's you. That's what you hope. And I hear you. And on paper, I've seen upsets. I've seen teams lose. So it's not automatic. I get what you're saying, but it's the same thing. And that's why I brought up the example of him coming out after he lost with the thing on his wrist. This is the interesting thing. Things that LeBron has done. That's all.
Here's the interesting thing, Rob. When Paul George came out and talked about how
he got ripped.
No, he didn't.
He did.
He got praised. I mean, I guess some people ripped him.
Nah, they ripped him and said he was soft, and he's talking about he was depressed. I heard people ripping him that he was soft.
A lot of people gave him, oh, wow, he's talking about mental health and mental illness. How brave of him. That's great.
I heard other people say.
A lot of people said that. And
keep that to yourself. You don't need to put that out there.
And Skip didn't even kill him. Skip just said, look, this is sports, man. People going to use that against you. There are going to be guys guarding you talking about, you all right? You feel depressed and things like that. But I didn't really see wholesale killing of him. I saw what I thought was people giving him love because he talked about mental health. So LeBron's talking about how tough it is, but he's working through it. So I just think LeBron was saying what his feeling is down there. And, we'll see if he
Everybody hears it differently. I just think that LeBron is very conscious of his of where he stands. And the reason he puts it out there is because he feels like, I'm going to win this. And I know I have 6 finals losses, but I'll talk about what I did to win on the bubble, and that should count for extra credit. So now I won in a very tough situation of being isolated in the bubble. I came back from 3-1. I don't count the
Well,
first
he's not getting extra
finals.
credit,
No,
I'll
I
tell you
know.
that.
I'm just saying that's the thinking.
All right.